Hey, Roger here, back at RAC LDW. I am with Doug from GAPP.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So for those of us that are not in the know, what's GAPP stand for?
Georgia Association of Promotional Products Professionals.
That's a lot of P's, man.
It is.
Yeah. So, we were talking just before we came on and getting perspective on participation. You've got a very interesting situation with your board this year as it pertains to LDW. Why don't you speak about that just a little bit?
Yeah, we've got myself, who has been coming for 3 years now and have gotten a lot out of it, but we're fortunate to have 3 new attendees, and I think watching them get the experience of what I had the first year, just the enthusiasm that they're coming away from each class, and just getting the overall experience of LDW has been fun to watch from somebody that's been a couple of years in a row.
Sure. Now, while they're new LDW attendees, are they all brand new to your board as well?
They're not. Our membership chair is new to the board. The other 2 have been on the board for a couple of years, and the spots just opened up for us to bring the 3 new and 1 attendee that was here last year.
Yeah. So from an instant feedback perspective, what sort of things are you hearing and seeing from those 3?
From the 3 new ones?
Yeah.
I think there's very little understanding of what the experience is going to be, and so I think once they sit through the very first class that they sit through and kind of get exposed to whether it's best practices or social media, to come away with an understanding of how valuable it really is for both their business career but also the association. Of course, the association is first, but I don't think that they were quite as prepared for the amount of information and just overall education that they're going to get.
Yeah, it's really, we joke all the time that this event is really one of the best kept secrets in the industry.
It is. I think we always laugh because if you came away from this event without a certain level of enthusiasm to take back to your association and where your home base is, then you're just not meant to be on the board, because it really does fire you up.
Exactly, no doubt about it. A very common recurring comment that we hear, not necessarily in these sessions, but in some of the feedback that we get from the event when it's complete, is going back into your home association with a plan to do something with the information that you've gathered.
Sure.
And it's important to have that plan. I'm interested, when you brought the group here, had you sat down as a group and sort of mapped out what each of the individual participants were going to do, or did you allow them the opportunity to make those choices for themselves?
Lisa Bibb, our executive director, took some time to kind of put in place sort of a plan of where she thought each person's role within our association would best fit with the different classes, the breakout schedule. As president, I said, guys, stick with that, but if you feel like you want to attend something else that interests you, feel free to do that. So far, it seems like they've stuck pretty close to the schedule. I think maybe 1 or 2 have chosen a different breakout session. So we did have a plan in place, loosely though. Just kind of let people figure out on their own what they thought was best for them.
Sure. One of the other things that we talked about was you made some mention about a specific education session that you'd done this year that had something to do with selling over the internet. Yeah,
we had a gentleman, Jim Franklin, who is the Vice President of Sales for Inkhead Promotions out of Georgia, and they're an internet-based selling company. And he presented us the idea of doing a presentation on internet selling, fact versus fiction. And it was a very well-attended event. It sparked a lot of interest. There's a lot of miscommunication about what online providers are doing versus your traditional brick and mortar, and he spoke to a lot of those things. And between having Paul Bellantone and Steve Meyer come do the state of the industry, and then that's follow-up education session, we've had 2 very successful lunch and learns this year.
Yeah, that sounds so. Getting back to the Inkhead piece of this, I mean, Inkhead as a brand is a little under the radar in our industry. That either you know about them or you just have no idea whatsoever. So for anybody who doesn't, go check it out. It's a pretty interesting business model. What was maybe 1 or 2 of the really surprising things that you came to find out from that session?
Well, as you might imagine, one of the way that Jim presented the myths was that everybody online is selling at a reduced margin, that it's strictly a cost-based way of providing promotional products, and he has some statistics that really kind of countered that thought. And then the other thing is that a lot of people would think that you very rarely get any large orders by being a purely internet provider.
Sure.
And in reality, there are some relationships that do get established if you are a internet distributor, that you really can get some large orders.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and it really has a lot to do with the notion of product versus idea, right? So when you talk about a product-based opportunity, and the quantity of the transaction can be significant because that purchaser has really already made up their mind about what they want to buy. Right. So a promotional products professional, in many instances, where our value, I believe at least, is I may not necessarily have agreed with you on what you've chosen to buy, and I probably would have brought you some other ideas that were attached to a product, so that instead of it turning into just, well, I'm going to buy 100,000 pens, versus, well, why are you buying those 100,000 pens, right? And how might we be able to rearrange that for you so that you don't have to buy 100,000 all at once, or any one of those things that really allow that opportunity for the distributor to either jump in the pool and have a way through an e-commerce solution to be able to sell product as a part of their overall offering, while you still have salespeople who are capable of being the consultative seller that a lot of our clients are looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And the way that we structured, and I should have mentioned this, we structured it so that after his presentation, we had a panel discussion with Chase Thompson from Gold Bond, Marsha Lundy with Tango Partners, and then, of course, Jim was the third person. And that was much of the conversation from the attendees to the panel, is the creative side. How do we do what we would talk about here at this event and raise the level of perception of our industry with the end buyer out there as to promotional products being a true source of advertising and not just an online provider. And it was great. It was great give and take.
It's a great way to do it, right?
It really is. And so that was the fact versus fiction, is that there can be some crossover.
Actually, some synergies in reality. That's pretty cool.
It was neat.
So what's going on for the rest of the year? You got anything big coming up?
We do. We've had a very successful fall show that actually takes place in August. And it is a room show that takes place at an Embassy Suites. A lot of associations are going to this model for if they have two shows, their smaller one. So that we've got 2 floors of an Embassy Suites, reps, multi-line reps, rent the rooms, and we have distributors just free walk around the 2 floors. And it has been, I guess we've been doing it, this will be our 4th year. It's really been well received. That comes up August 30th.
Nice.
And then just a couple other social events. We've got a bowling event that we're in the plans for, and we've had some successful tennis events in the spring and the fall. So that, combined with the trade show, should keep us busy through the rest of the year.
Indeed. So you're almost exactly one halfway through your presidency year. As a former president myself, I know what you're in the midst of right now. And I can remember at this time in the year where it's starting to feel over a little bit already. You can see the end. What's your president year meant to you so far?
It's an honor to be a president. It's great that you kind of see that on the horizon as you're coming up through the association. And then when it finally gets here, the first 3 months fly by.
Absolutely.
And I try to sort of take that momentum and think, okay, what am I really going to try to accomplish, and not let this year fly by so fast that I wish I had a do-over. We have decided that we are going to redo our strategic plan for GAP. We still have that work to get done. But I want to make sure that at least a significant part of that gets done, so that person coming in behind me will have a working plan established. And I think I was fortunate enough to sit down with Steve Meyer and Lisa Bibb at the beginning of the year and map out some goals. And so there's a list of things that I said I wanted to accomplish. And you mentioning that we're halfway through the year makes me realize that I got to stay on task.
Time to get some stuff done.
And you mentioned that it can feel like it's halfway done, because our big event is the show in the spring. And once that's behind you, if you
have
don't
a tendency to sort of take a breath for a second.
That's our big event. So if you hadn't set out those goals, I think there would be the ability to just kind of lapse into, well, I'll pass the reins on here shortly.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, best of luck to you for the rest of the year, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Doug.